every single game I played, the ride home was never about what had happened on the field. Like, it was unless I wanted to talk about it, or unless, my dad wanted to try to gas me up, like, oh, dude, that what a swing that was. You know what I mean? Like, it was always in a positive light. It was never.
Arteaga drives one to center. Miller hustling over. Diving catch by Ian Miller. A great catch.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Nine Hope Podcast. This is your host, Ian Miller. I am back with another episode with Nick Dini. Man, he is a mainstay here week after week on the Nine Hope Podcast, talking about what's going on in the youth baseball landscape. Nick, how you doing today, brother?
What's happening, Mil? Everything's good over here, bro. Let's dive into some more youth baseball.
Amateur, I love it. Baseball. Yes, sir. Amateur baseball. I love that. So last week, brother, we were talking a little bit about the perfect game debacle, how, this business model's pretty insane. They're actually hiding some stuff in the fine print, and they are preying on the parents, not wanting to miss out and include their kid on the top tier baseball tournaments and all that stuff. They are paying top dollar. They are also signing away their name, image, and likeness rights in the fine print. They don't even necessarily understand it. We had put a clip out this morning earlier from that podcast last week, and it's being received pretty well. A lot of people are viewing it, man. It is a big topic in the landscape of amateur baseball, man. But today I wanted to talk a little bit more about that inclusiveness that we've probably all felt in the game of baseball coming up. We felt like, man, you could be included in the game of baseball. There is fucking little league baseball that you can go out and just play. You don't necessarily have to make a team. You don't have to know somebody. You don't have to pay, 6 G's to be on a 30 game season type of team. I wanted to talk about the inclusiveness versus the exclusiveness that now we see in today's game of youth baseball. Wanted to talk a little bit about leadership at that level, what it looks like. And the communication there, man, maybe between the parents, between the coaching staff, between the players, man. But just diving into it, dude. This pay-to-play, baseball idea and losing inclusivity. What do you got on it, dude? And what do you think about the players whose parents are paying the most money? They get the most opportunities in the game, bro. What do you got on that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate is what I'll say. But at the same time, I think, and I say this kind of every week when you bring up topics like this, and I like to take this time that I have with you and the platform that you have to talk and kind of just try to educate, it's okay. I just feel like it's gotten to a place where, parents feel this pressure financially to be able to give their son every opportunity to take their baseball career as far as they want to go. And they've created this fear of missing out. Like, hey, we're giving you this platform, and if you're not doing this, your son is behind the 8 ball and there's no chance. Where I don't believe that to be true. And I just want to kind of send that message throughout, because I'm sure if you went through, Major League Baseball and guys, I mean, maybe not so much now, but I never did any of that. And I'm not looking for the sob story, but financially, at times throughout my high school career, I wouldn't have been able to play in these tournaments, and things are okay. You know what I mean? There's more to it than spending this kind of money at a 12-year-old level. And I think like I said, I just feel like parents feel this pressure, where I'm here to say, it's not a necessity. It's not a prerequisite, and it has no bearing on how far your kid is going to go in the game of baseball. I get the feeling that, my son is not being awarded the same opportunities that other kids are. And we've talked on it last week, man. The game of baseball doesn't start until you're on the big field, high school. You know what I mean? That's where things people start getting separated, and work that you do as a young player and athlete. Those are the things that pay dividends when you do start playing what I call real baseball. Like I see all the time, man. Like we've talked last week, strength and size wins on the smaller fields. What you can do is just I'm a believer in putting your kid in everything. Like let him develop like the utmost athleticism, because once you do start honing in on one skill set and specializing in one sport, that athleticism that you've developed over the course of your life playing different things, you're going to see benefits from doing that. You're going to be explosive because you played basketball and you were jumping and trying to guard people. There's going to be, if you played soccer, there's a relationship between your lower half and your eyes. You know what I mean? Like you're just using different muscles. Like, dude, I took time off from playing fall baseball in 8th grade to go like kind of as a joke, try out for a middle school soccer team, and ended up playing soccer for a year. And I ended up loving it. Like I tried to do as much as I can growing up, but I just feel like there's this idea that my kid needs to play baseball at a young age, 10, 11 months of the year, when that's just not true. And I can guarantee that if you go and ask, every player that is in Major League Baseball, if they only played baseball growing up, a large majority of them would say, no, I played multiple sports.
Yeah.
Because what you see is, right, when you play at that level and you keep going up levels, the athleticism stands out. Like you see just better athletes all around. That's why I also believe like play as many positions as you can, right? And that's like kind of goes into the point of this pay to play type, system that's set up. You're seeing these teams be constructed with like, okay, this is my catcher, this is my shortstop, this is my center fielder, where it's like, we're deciding that at 12 years old, where shouldn't the game be about like getting to experience the game from a bunch of different lenses? See the game from behind the plate, see the game from center field, see it from shortstop, see it from as many places as you can. You learn the game that way. Yeah. And it was another thing we touched on. Like, I don't think enough people know the game because they don't get to experience the game from multiple viewpoints. It's all, this is the position I'm playing at 12 years old. And, I guess in the end, dude, I'm just here to say, like, as a parent, I know the pressure that you feel because you see your son's friend, whether it's his friends or old teammates going to these tournaments and doing these things, that you feel I need to find a way for my son to do that. At that age, I don't think you do.
Yeah, dude.
Let him play as much as he can and let him, experience different things, get him in different leagues, get him with, get him around good people that can help him in that sport, and go experience other things, man. Like, cause like the burnout's a real thing. You know what I mean? Like you can take somebody who's played way too much baseball, and by the time they're 15, 16 years old, they're like, I'm so over this.
I'm over it, dude. They specialize too early, man. There's some things I wanted to unpack right in there. Number one, dude, love everything you're saying. I agree to a T with everything you're saying. Randy Johnson, one of the first episodes that I've had here on the 9 Hole podcast, Randy Johnson was on here, Hall of Famer, talking about just that. I was asking, like, dude, how did you stand out in high school, right? You're obviously tall and stuff, but like, how did you develop athleticism? Like, what did you do? He goes, play multiple sports. If I could tell a family or a kid or some parents on how to develop talent, athleticism, man, experience different sports. Like if I was a pitcher, and when I stopped playing in the winter for basketball, I would develop, balance, core stability, all this stuff. You're developing athletic moves and different sorts of muscles that you would outside of the baseball field. Dude, number two, the fear of missing out with the parents, man, is huge too. You see, hey man, my son, his friends are all on this travel team. It costs $4,500 to play in 20 games around the East Coast. Like, he's got to be on there. Man, that's tough. I get it. That sucks. How I tried to say and kind of relate to, maybe some younger players, some younger amateur players and their parents. It's like, dude, the higher you go up, and the more that you separate from the pack, like, you are going to get less and less away from playing with your friends and stuff, right? Because you're going to either go to maybe a top tier, like, competitive high school team or something like that. You know what I mean? Or, summer ball, whatever it is. I know we're getting on the fact of paying to play, but the higher you go up and the more advanced you get, the more you're going to be separated from your friends. I know that is a crazy thing to kind of like have to deal with when you're younger, maybe like middle school and stuff. But dude, the higher you go up and the more serious you get, the more you're going to be distanced from your friends, man. So I get everything kind of that they're going through there, man. It's absolutely.
And they're also like, and that's a great point too, man, that should be highlighted is playing with your friends. Like when I grew up, bro, I grew up with the same players. Like I played travel baseball for my town team from the time I was 8 years old, and I was with those same guys until I was 18 years old, graduating high school.
Same.
And like the relationships that I developed doing that are still like relevant in my life today. Like I talk to those people. I was just with one of my high school teammates, this past weekend. Like those relationships that I developed, those last my lifetime. They will last. Where I feel like when the way it's set up now, and dude, we can go into all this stuff. I hear of guys bringing in guest players. You know what I mean? Like these kids that are really, really good. Hey, they don't have a tournament this weekend. It's like, hey, I've heard, dude, of stories where these teams are going and competing in these big tournaments, down in Georgia, Florida, wherever these tournaments are held, and paying that kid's way to get him to come play for that team at an amateur level. So like the family is getting their plane tickets bought, the hotels are being paid for, and they're not paying anything to come be a part of this tournament. I even heard something that one of the fathers wanted walk around money and they gave it to him. Like they let his son come play for free. They paid for their all-inclusive trip out to this tournament, and then gave the father some money to walk around. So he wasn't burning a hole in his pocket being at these tournaments. Like this is stuff that's happening at a 12-year-old level. How inclusive can it be that like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't really know logistically how this works because like as a parent, if I'm on that team and I just see this kid show up that I've never seen before, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this kid's going to come in, he's going to pitch, and then he's going to play short, and then he's going to bat third. And your son's playing time that you've paid this money to be on this team, his playing time is going to be diminished because little do you know, we just paid for this kid to be here and play.
Crazy.
Is that not insanity? And that's the beauty of this, excuse me, and why I can come here and talk about it, because I don't just make these assumptions. I literally speak to every single parent that I am involved with their son and trying to develop either from a defensive or an offensive standpoint. And I talk to these parents and get insight into what the landscape is, because I am so far removed from what is going on that I really don't know, but I get this insight from these people and they're telling me this, and my jaw drops every time I hear it, because I'm like, it makes total sense why this like inclusive, it's like kids are excluded, and by the time they're 13, 14 years old, they're like, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, bro.
Like I couldn't play on the team that I've been with for X amount of time because they wanted to bring in somebody that was better than me at that moment to help them win a tournament. I don't get it. I don't like, no wonder kids don't want to play.
It's crazy, bro.
They don't want to play.
It's crazy when you think about it, the way things are today. Man, I get like travel ball and these competitive tournaments. They might be a little different than high school baseball, but man, if it's about development, it's about maximizing what these players have in the game. Man, you bringing somebody else in to sub in for the weekend just to get some padded stats, maybe an extra W in the win column. It's fucking wild, bro. It really is wild.
It's crazy. And like you said, man, I've came on here and I've talked about my experience, and listen, my experience is not everybody else's experience, but I was brought up on the game of baseball and I genuinely had the most fun playing the sport with my best friends at a young age. Like that's what I looked forward to. It was more time around my friends. And it weirdly enough, those same friends that I had, they played football. I played Pop Warner football with them. I played travel basketball with them for our town. Like, I did everything with them and developed those relationships. And I couldn't, I think back to like travel ball kind of, I guess it started to become a thing when I got later on, like more towards high school, where I played with these other teams. I didn't enjoy it as much because I didn't enjoy the people I was doing it with. Like, and then it gets to a point where, you know, you separate yourself enough, hopefully, that you go and, you know, experience college base. And dude, I talk about college baseball. Like, mind you, I played the minor leagues for 9 years, cup of coffee in the major leagues. Like, the most fun I had playing baseball was in college with the guys that I'm around all year. Every single thing that you did with them, the morning workouts, the friggin' punishment running, what we did after games, like having game, like everything that it entailed, like that was the most fun I had. Now, mind you, I played on when I was in the major leagues, it was a team that was 100+ loss team. So I'm sure if it was if we were really good, it would have been a different story. But like, that was the most fun I had.
Yeah, bro. 100%. Those types of relationships and stuff that you form, those are the things that I look back on now. And those are the things I remember, bro. Like, they're huge, especially in college. It's crazy that, like, double-edged sword, trying to like communicate that to travel ball parents and stuff who want their kids to succeed and maximize. It's like, dude, the higher you go up, like, you're not going to play with those people. You know what I mean? It's tough to communicate.
Exactly.
And yeah, man, go ahead.
So, and that's another good point too, dude, is like, when we're talking about this, like, there is a line of demarcation. It's like when you're playing little league, when I say little league baseball, I mean, when you're on the small field, when you're not playing like at the high school level, like up until then, I don't want to say nothing matters, but if you have like whatever stats you have, and I hope everyone is hitting 700 with 25 homers on the small field with a drop 5 bat that they're using. But like, when you go to high school, like, none of it matters. And like, what you do from that point, when you step onto campus as a freshman up until you're ready to leave as a senior, like that window is what's important. So as far as missing out on maybe a tournament or two because financially this is just a burden and burning a hole in my pocket, I don't like, parents should not feel pressure that they are putting their son at a disadvantage, because they're not. Let them go be kids. Go play tennis ball in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Go do something like that. You're getting just as much out of it, in my opinion.
100%, dude. Man, moving on to maybe, the coaching side of things, dude. So you had sent over something that was fantastic. Got me thinking a little bit, talking about leadership in youth sports. So obviously, like, when you have a baseball team, who is the leader of that baseball team aside from the coach, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a little bit, but it's usually the best player. Is the leader, usually inherits that leadership role. And whatever that player does, however that player acts, it usually trickles down, man. So like, when I was thinking about it, I had, this role kind of shift when I got into college. So like, growing up, I always wanted to be like the leader of the team. I wanted to be like the best player on the team. I wanted to emulate how he went about his business, how he played on the field, how he hit, all that stuff. And you can look, you can watch baseball and you can try to emulate the best players on TV, all that stuff. I wanted to be like the best, and usually the leader on the team was the best player on the team. And so I wanted to be like him. Wagner is kind of where I started, not surpassing that feeling, but that role kind of changed, whereas like, man, I started kind of getting into that leadership role almost, where I was probably, at the time, at least like with the veteran class that I was in, I felt like I was probably one of the better ones on the team. And so like, that role I kind of took on that role. That is a crazy way of thinking about it, but it's damn true, man. Like, everybody that's on the team in youth sports wants to be like that guy. That is the leader. If you're a coach, man, how could you go about like helping that leader lead the team? How could you go about like bringing that attribute out in the most positive light and go about coaching a team through a successful season.
And dude, you hit on it, because that was actually in my notes that I wanted to talk about, because there are really two types of leaders, right? There's your loud rah-rah guy that really has a good relationship with a lot of the players on the team. And then there are leaders that just lead by example. And I wanted to touch on you individually in college, because you weren't the rah-rah guy. Like, you weren't like, like the work that you did was in silence, and like people gravitated towards that because they saw one of, if not the best player on the team. Watch him work, right? Like, that's the standard being set. So like, as a coach, and what you can do, like like from a youth level, I'm bouncing around because it's a lot to unpack, but like from a youth level, it's as simple as telling that kid, like, hey, like, the evidence is there. You know where you stand as far as like from a, pure talent like standpoint on this team. That comes with some responsibility. Like, as much as you want it to or not, that's the facts of it. Because when people watch you play, they want to get to where you are. So whatever it is that you do, you are setting an example, whether you believe you are or not. And what you do trickles down to everybody else on that team. And that's what I said, with you at college, not the rah-rah guy, but the way you went about doing everything, it set a standard for everybody else. Like, hey, if you wanted to get there and be that guy where, hey, I'm opening 6 different letters today about scouts inviting me to pre-draft workouts, or I'm getting emails from this team and filling out questionnaires and doing all this stuff. Like, if that's where you want to get to, like, here's the blueprint. I'm just going to watch what this guy's doing, and then people fall in line, right? You don't have to say a word. If people are invested the way you are and want to get to that level, it's very easy. I'm just going to watch what this guy does. And I saw it at the major league level, man. Like, being in a minor leaguer, we shared a weight room with the big league team in Kansas City, and all you heard about was Alex Gordon. This guy is what it like. You think you work hard? Like, watch this guy. Alex Gordon didn't really he didn't really say much, but if you watch that guy work, and now you're talking about 7, 8-time Gold Glover, Royals Hall of Famer, like, unbelievable career. You just watched him work, and it made total sense. And it's like, you could try to match what this guy's doing. You won't, but the blueprint was there. Like, there's no secret as to why this guy was able to do that. And that's coming from a guy who changed positions in college to the big, like, I think even the minor leagues to the big leagues. He was a third baseman, ended up becoming like a platinum glove left fielder.
It's wild.
Watch that guy work. That's what a leader does. And it's not by it's not by choice. When you are that caliber of talent and you have that type of success, people just are going to watch you and try to emulate what you do. So as a coach, especially for a young player, it's making him realize the responsibility that comes with being as good as you are, whether you want it or not. That's just how it is. That's
love
how
it. Dude, I love all of that. Could not agree more with it. Trust and respect. So getting through to a player, you had sent over a quote, man, from Dan Quinn, which was badass. Reading it, unpacking it, but you can only coach someone to the depth of your relationship with them. So, dude, I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. You obviously have to connect with your coach, and then kind of reflecting on it a little bit more. I'm like, man, what coaches really got through to me the most, had the biggest impact on me? And it was the ones that, like, I had probably, the deepest relationship with. It was probably, my high school coach comes to mind, who helped me with shit off the field. Academically, like behaviorally, emotionally, had helped me through some stuff and had a huge impact on my career moving forward. It's like, dude, if you want to get through to a player, that's an insane way to do it. You build that relationship with them, you connect with them, maybe off the field. If they need help, it's that guiding light. I absolutely love it, bro. Would you say, that's a great way to get your leader on board? Maybe not overwhelm him, be like, hey, dude, you are the leader. You're the best player on the team. Everybody's going to be fucking watching you from here on out. That's a great way to probably connect with your player at a deeper level and have a better depth of the relationship with them moving forward, huh?
100%. And to your point, like same thing. I saw the quote and then I started to reflect on my playing career, and I played the best, and I was able to be coached certain ways by people that I had a good relationship with. And I'm not saying you need to be best friends with me. All I'm saying, like, dude, my AA manager, who still talk to this day, like mentor, like really, really helped kind of change the trajectory of my career. I'll never forget my AA debut. I come in and I'm catching, and he was a big league catcher for a long time. So he kind of has eyes out for that position. And we're playing in Frisco, Texas, and I'm catching, and we're down 8-0 in the second inning. Like, they are kicking the shit out of us. And he pulls me in the second inning of my first start, and he's telling me, what you are doing out there is slop. Like, it completely sloppy. Like, undressed me in the second inning of my first AA start.
Oh.
And I'm sitting there, like, after the game, and I kind of had some good at-bats, but we got our ass kicked.
Yeah.
So I have this uneasy feeling after the game. I'm like, oh, this guy don't like me. I'm going to be out of here. Like, that was kind of my opportunity that, that's gone. I show up the next day. He pulls me into the office, and he just wanted to get to know me and what made me tick, and what are you good at as a player? What do you need? What are some weaknesses you have as a player? And then he, like, taking that time to have a 30-minute conversation with me and kind of just get to know me as a person, because I hadn't known him really on a personal level up until that point. Like, he would ask me how my parents are doing, and he would call my parents by their names. Like, he wouldn't say, oh, how's mom and dad? He's like, how's Lori and Vinny? Like, and when I felt like he gave a shit about me as a person, he could have said anything to me, and I would have taken it and been whatever the hell he wanted to say to me, I would have taken it with a grain of salt, because I knew that this guy was here to help me, and that he can coach me whatever way he saw fit. And, like, after that meeting, like, he was going to get my ass, and he got my ass plenty the rest of the year, but I was able to just, wear it and not let it affect me because of the relationship that I had with him on a personal level. You know what I mean? And it didn't take much. All it took was him sitting down, having a conversation with me, and letting me know how it was going to be, and how he was going to coach, and how he was going to get through to me. And I welcomed it. And I ran with it, and it was the best I've ever played. And that year, like I've talked about before, kind of put me on this path that, I was able to, have 60 of the best days of my life in the major leagues because of that guy and how he coached me, and the perspective he gave me about the game of baseball. And if I didn't have that conversation with him, or if I didn't feel like, or if he just told me that what I was doing was slop, and then left it at that until my next start, who knows what the hell I would have done or where I would have gone. You know what I mean? 100%. So, like, when I saw that quote, I was like, it resonated with me, because when you have that relationship with somebody, it allows you to coach them how you see fit. And that person takes that coaching and knows that you have the best intentions for them.
100%, brother. 100%. I love it. That obviously goes hand in hand, the connection and the respect between a coach and the player. The ones that you have that deeper depth of connection with, you're obviously going to get more out of the whole situation. The coaches that I played the best for were the ones that I had the most connection with. You know what I mean? Off the field, whatever that looks like. Last thing that we got here, man, this is a little bit more for the parents of the amateur baseball players, man. So, like, thinking back on my career, my mom was instrumental on, taking me to and from every baseball game. Same with my little brother. And we talked a little bit about these youth amateur baseball players specializing in the sport pretty early, specializing in a position pretty early. Like, hey, dude, I'm a 9-year-old. I'm a 12-year-old and I'm specifically a pitcher. I don't play anything else other than that, or like I'm just, I'm a third baseman or I'm a first base, like whatever. I get it, man. And the more kind of pressure you put on yourself, the more specialized you get. The more it could kind of become a job, and the more that it can impact kids and kind of the whole process off the field, man. So you would send something over highlighting, man, the car rides home. Those are important. Like what is, thinking back on it, man, my mom and driving me to and from games was awesome. I can think back on it right now and just laughing, kind of listening to music, getting pumped up, whether it was a 4-hit game, whether it was an 0-for-4 game. Dude, you're coming back home, and it is just a way to kind of like decompress, get your mind off of stuff, man. I know you wanted to touch on the importance of the car rides home, the car rides, letting the kids kind of separate the performance from how they take it back with them to their house, man. What do you got on that?
The same thing that you said, man. Like I couldn't remember from that age good, bad games. I do remember the car rides with my dad and my mom, or one or the other.
Yeah.
And every single game I played, the ride home was never about what had happened on the field. Like it was unless I wanted to talk about it, or unless, my dad wanted to try to gas me up. Like, oh dude, that what a swing that was, you know what I mean? Like it was always in a positive light. It was never negative or what I did. Now, if I had done some things from a character perspective,
different story. That's
when my dad, that's when he would be heard. But from a performance standpoint, there was I never felt pressure to do anything in that game, or I knew regardless, I was never going to get scolded or have a friggin' hitting lesson on the way home by my dad when the results weren't there. Like it was nothing but positivity. And I can remember every game I played, it was like, hey, where you want to go eat? And then it was like, and that was really the depth of what we did in the car. It was like I never played a game. Where I see too many times now, dude, and I give, I work with a lot of kids, and I have some kids where, they'll take a swing and it's not a good result, and they're whipping their head back to see the father's reaction. And I sit there and I feel like I try not to get involved in that dynamic between father and son, because listen, everybody has, that how you want to raise your son.
Yeah. They operate differently, everybody.
Exactly. You're going to do what you do. But all I can think about is the pressure that must be to feel that you have to live up to a certain standard, or that there's certain things that you have to do on the field to feel like your dad is proud of you.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine playing the game that way, dude, because there was a point in my life where I started to play the game and felt pressure. Like when your job and your livelihood is dependent on results, that's pressure.
Yeah.
When you're 12 years old and you feel that, it's the slippery slope, bro. And I just think as parents, we can be a little more welcoming and warming to our kids, lift them up, and you don't have to break them down based off of how good or bad they do, because in reality, what they do at 10, 11, 12 years old means nothing. But if you could teach them to do things the right way, treat people with respect the game, respect their teammates and their coaches, and become good people, now down the line, though, they don't feel the pressure to worry about what happens on a performance level. That stuff will take care of itself. But when you're at that age and you're the joy that you have for the game is reliant on what I did that day, it's a tough spot, man. And I wonder, where are they going to be at 14 and 15?
Yes, dude. Oh, built on a game of odds stacked against you and just a whole plethora of failure, right? You fail 7 times out of 10, bro, and you're a millionaire for the rest of your life. It's, dude, later in my career, it was like I had a set mechanism in place in order for me to, regardless of what I did at the field that day, I leave the locker room and go out to my wife, and it's like I needed to wipe it, right? But dude, when we're 10, 11, 12 years old and we're grinding and we care, and it's like we're not able to leave the results at the field, and we're going on the car ride home and we're talking baseball and why we struck out and why we're late and why we're dropping our back shoulder. It's like, dude, fucking what? It's a lot, bro. It's a lot. So there's a lot to unpack there, but it's so true, man. I love all of it. Man, that's all I got, dude. That's all I got today with this stuff. Obviously, like, we're going to keep hitting on the youth baseball landscape, keep talking about things that are prevalent in the youth and amateur sports space. So, Deans, I appreciate you making time coming back on today, dude. Is there anything else you want to throw in there? You all good?
I'm good, man. I think if we can just continue to highlight what's important, you know what I mean? Like the things that the character things and the not worrying about results at such a young age where they don't matter. If you can highlight these things, I think it's important for people to hear that, it doesn't matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but there's a lot more important things out there than your 8 hits this weekend.
Amen, brother. Amen. Deans, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate everybody for being here and tuning in to the 9 Hole Podcast. We will catch you guys back here next week. Appreciate you, Deans.
Thanks, Mel. Talk to you, brother.
Yes, sir. Take care, guys.